Hello, everyone. Welcome to Game Junk Prototype Episode 30, recording on September 25th, 2020. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And this week we'll be talking about the Megaton announcement, Xbox acquiring Bethesda, and whether or not their pre-orders are a debacle, and exactly how many of us didn't pre-order an Xbox One, Series X, or Series S. My name is Frank. Did we already do that?
Yeah, we did that.
Now that's staying in. That is definitely staying
I
in.
was so excited. I had to get out my
See, that was Eddie at first, and then Frank came back.
Yeah, I switched into Eddie, back to Frank. It's kind of scary. I need a drink. That's crazy. Had to get it out there. Had to stir the pot already. Well, we're going to talk about it. I mean, everyone's talking about it. I said it was over. Do I still think it's over? And spoiler alert, I do. But I don't think it's as big of a gap as I did before, certainly. But are we getting right into it?
Sure.
Yeah, man.
Okay, let's start
What else
off.
do you have to talk about?
Just in front of their pre-order perfectly timed window on Tuesday, Xbox announced that they are acquiring ZeniMax. I guess Microsoft announced they are acquiring ZeniMax, which everyone phrased as Xbox buying Bethesda,
Yes.
which I understand. But for $7.5 billion, I believe, was the number. And I mean, at the time, a lot of debate. It was a little nebulous as to whether or not they were going to be exclusive games. We were all chatting when it happened, and I think by now it seems pretty clear that the games will be exclusive, or they said they'll evaluate on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
I assume they're all going to be exclusive. It doesn't. If they
Think
weren't
so?
going to be exclusive, if they plan, I mean, they'll still probably
I don't
evaluate
think
it
so.
if they can make money. I think they're going to be exclusive.
No way.
I mean,
I
they'll
totally
be
disagree.
on PC for sure, right?
No, of course PC, yes, and but through Game Pass, right? I think it'll be, or like purchasing through a Microsoft store. I don't think they're going to release them on Steam. If anything, I would say, yeah, eventually they'll probably release them on Steam. Like that.
What?
that
So
that I
you
can
think
see.
they'll be possibly on Steam, but not PS4 and not Switch?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Really? I totally disagree.
Okay, I mean, we don't know. It seems like a lot of money to pay. I mean, I don't know how much money those games make, so I'm sure ultimately they're thinking, well, if we can make more money selling them, they might. But if that was the case, and obviously they're not saying yet because people are assuming. I assumed, Sean assumed when he heard it. Otherwise, what's the point? Because go ahead, buy them, make money. It's that financial versus like gamer perspective. I'm assuming it would be a successful move for Microsoft, the company, which is what they're ultimately concerned about, their shareholders, not as much about, gamers being able to play everything. So whatever makes more sense for their shareholders, I'm sure is what they'll do. And thankfully, I don't think there's a Bethesda game that is slated to launch probably in the next 2 years.
Well, not Bethesda, but some of the other companies under the ZeniMax banner
Now,
are.
isn't Deathloop Bethesda? Have they
Yes.
said what's
Yeah.
happening
Well, it's
with-
not Bethesda. It's ZeniMax.
Yeah,
okay.
so Deathloop
Published-
and
published by
yes,
Bethesda.
sorry,
Go-
I'm misspeaking. That's correct.
Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, they have already said will still be PS4 timed or PS5 timed exclusives, I believe. But yeah, I mean, you're right in terms of whatever the next Skyrim sequel is going to be. That's probably a couple years away. And what's the
Starfield.
other?
Starfield.
The other
Right,
big-
yeah.
Whatever the next Fallout is.
Let me just switch my colors here. Let's get some Xbox screen.
Yeah, get some green. There we go.
Got my new advanced lighting
Get it
set
real.
up. The paint bucket tool in Microsoft Paint. Hey, I'm using Microsoft Paint too, so it's all about
Perfect.
Xbox. I'm even wearing a Sea of Thieves T-shirt representing Microsoft. No bad blood here. So, I mean, it is a pretty big announcement. It only makes sense to me if it is exclusive. And when I was thinking of stuff Microsoft could do to win when I said it was over, I mean, I thought maybe they'd buy Rocksteady. I didn't think that would be that big of a deal. But I mean, I didn't even know ZeniMax or Bethesda was on the table. So it came out of nowhere. It's a power move, got to admit it. I know the new generation of gamers does not like it. They don't like this idea of, monopoly or exclusivity on consoles. I don't care. I like it. I think it's good when there's like these reasons to buy consoles. For someone who always buys every console, I think it's like, well, at least I have a reason to buy that console now to try those games. But
can I pitch why they probably will keep them on the other platforms?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so PS5 and PS4 have a way bigger install base than Xbox.
What?
They put the games out on Sony, and they're able to say, hey, you could pay $70 for this and buy it one time, or you could pay us $10 a month and get all the games. So go ahead, you buy it on Sony, and we'll take our 70% cut of that money, which we wouldn't have got if you had the subscription.
Don't forget to buy the console too, which is $400.
Yeah, and don't forget to buy the console. So they would get 70% of $70 or whatever, roughly around that, to have it on Sony with the bigger install base. And then if they could flip those people, instead of buying it on Sony, to buy Xbox, it also is in their favor. So why not almost like put out advertisements on your competitors saying like, hey, go ahead, pay $70, or you could come play it for 10. All you have to do is either buy a PC or
play it for a month
for
10. I know that there's a tantalizing aspect of it, but play it for a month.
I mean, these games take a long time to get through, so that's something.
And maybe that was part of their strategy. Like, I could definitely see them, like, Fallout 76 was a bit of a disaster. Let's be honest there. And I'm assuming they knew it was a calculated risk when they did it. Like, they probably saw that games are going to games as a service, like extended lives for games, microtransactions, all that open world stuff. And they're like, yeah, it might be a bumpy first launch, but we need to be going in this direction. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I just assume that they understood that when they made those decisions, and the infrastructure and systems they built or lessons they learned from design would carry through to all their other properties as well. So I don't know. It seemed like it might not be the best time for ZeniMax or Bethesda to be sold, because I just feel like it might be the best time to buy for Microsoft, but they don't have a lot coming out other than Doom Eternal. Their current games are not like huge, I don't think. Like, their old games certainly are, but I feel like in terms of their popularity, it's on a valley, not a peak, relatively. I guess they're still better than a lot of other companies. Don't get me wrong.
But also, we don't know for sure. They could have stuff in the pipe that is not announced yet.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
There's a lot of studios there. And I mean, obviously, if Microsoft bought them, they went and did their due diligence and looked at everything they have right now cooking. And they obviously saw the value there.
Oh, yeah. They could have pulled a Smoke and Mirrors demo for Starfield. And
Of course they did. Why wouldn't they?
So just for people who don't know, like, these are the game franchises we're talking about that are under ZeniMax. We've got Doom, Quake, Rage, Dishonored, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Prey, Wolfenstein, The Evil Within, and I think those are the main ones.
Did you say Dishonored? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Okay. But there's got to be more, because that's basically just id, Bethesda, and Arcane. There's got to be more, because there's also a few other studios.
Definitely, yeah. But those are the big ones. And I think, obviously the Game Pass, that's a big thing where it's like, they have the option now. They can put some of them out on other platforms, but bring them to Game Pass, and that's still a win for Microsoft. So that's kind of cool. But I'm kind of with Huck in that I think they're going to kind of, I mean, they've already said it's going to be a case-by-case basis.
It's not over.
I think in terms of what they will make exclusive and what they won't, I feel like things like Fallout, maybe Dishonored, like big franchises that are established and have been on other platforms already, I feel like they will keep that up because they'll want to keep fans happy. But when they come up with new IP, that's the kind of stuff that they'll try to keep exclusive to Xbox moving forward, probably.
I mean, they could also do a timed exclusive thing where it's on Xbox for the first 6 months and then it goes everywhere. Either way, Microsoft wins.
Yeah, definitely.
Face it, Frank.
Well, they don't win the war. This was admittedly a very big move that I think is really good for them. And again, I don't care in terms of like the gamer perspective. Like, I know some people are probably mad. They're wondering what's going on. And again, they did it very intentionally before pre-order. So, and we're very vague about things. So people would assume and just like go and pre-order an Xbox, which, I mean, we don't know what's going on with either console, PlayStation or Xbox, whether these supply issues are intentional, like generating hype. Some places were already releasing new PS5 pre-orders today, whether it's just the nature of new launches where you don't want to commit to things you don't have yet and they're waiting on supply chain manufacturing numbers. Like, it could be any of those things in both cases. When I say it's over, why do I say it's over? Because to me, first of all, the brand confusion of Xbox. I've seen how that affected the Wii U in the past. I think all of the naming and all that stuff is a disaster. PlayStation 5 feels like a more next-gen thing than Xbox One Series X. And like communicating that between kids and parents, whoever, that is a feeling that I think is apparent. Everyone agrees on this, right? We all agree the naming is terrible.
Yeah, yes. I don't know if you saw as well, but people have been tweeting that on Amazon during the pre-orders, the pre-order day for the Series X, the Xbox One X was up like 900% or something in sales. So it seems like a lot of people...
No, there is a slight difference. That's not sales. That's like sales rankings.
So what does that mean?
From what I saw. So
Where
it's like...
it was on the rankings.
Yeah, it's like if it was like 10,000, like no one was buying it, and then all of a sudden like 100 people bought it, it would like jump up huge.
Okay, so I mean, people are buying it, but it's not that.
I don't know
insane.
about that.
Yeah, it's not totally clear.
But anyway, and it could be that's a good thing because maybe they had stock they needed to get rid of, and now people realize they can still play these games in some form, whatever. Okay, second, the exclusive, even after, let's say all Bethesda games are exclusive, I still think Sony's exclusive games are better. Like it's closer, but Microsoft was starting with basically nothing, Halo and Gears. And Halo is not looking too good. I doubt they will release a Halo game that's bad. So, I mean, even Halo 5 Guardians, which is probably the worst Halo I've played, was probably an 8 out of 10 or something like that, I would say. But that's really all they had. So, okay, they've gotten a little closer, and I would say they're still probably third next to Nintendo and Sony.
They have Forza.
Okay, Forza's good. I agree. That's a good series. They've actually destroyed Sony in terms of, as I've said before, I never would have thought when Forza came out it would be way better than Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
And at this point, I think it is. What were so exclusives is the biggest thing for me. That's why Nintendo always sells systems for the most part, and like they make amazing games. So I still think the exclusives on Sony are much better. I think the price is significantly more attractive in terms of a next-gen experience. And it's also anecdotal evidence.
Wait, what are you talking about the price?
Like getting the digital edition for $3.99 compared to like, and it's
$4.99.
pretty obvious that messaging is really clear, which one is which, and I think a lot of people are going to go for the digital edition. Anyway, so you have all that stuff, and then on top of it was the anecdotal evidence I talked about. I have lots of friends, like I said, who are casual gamers. I have many people asking me, oh, did you get a PlayStation pre-order? Did you get one? Did you get one? Not one person, not a peep about Series X, not anyone saying, I can't find one anywhere. What can I do? I could have pre-ordered one the day the pre-orders happened. I chose not to. I'm waiting for Shoppers Drug Mart to use my Optimum points, which I'm actually really happy about. We'll see once we get closer to the day. Will the desperation kick in? Do I have to have this new thing? It's possible. I'm not ruling it out. I might buy one.
Just to counter your anecdotal evidence, I had like 3 people from my work ask if I pre-ordered an Xbox, and nobody asked me about a PS5. So,
Ooh.
could be the circle
Okay.
of friends. I mean,
Let's
it's just
do another anecdotal circle right here on the screen. Huck, did you pre-order an Xbox One Series X or a PlayStation 5?
it's just Xbox Series X, Frank. Let's get it straight.
I can't. I legit didn't know. Did you what? But you did pre-order something. Do you want to share that? Or
Oh, I pre-ordered an Oculus Quest 2.
there we go.
I'm
PC all the way.
actually pretty excited about.
Okay. Sean, did you order a PlayStation 5 or Xbox One Series X or S?
PlayStation 5, we already established this.
All right, there we go. Thank you. And I also pre-ordered a PlayStation 5. So there's 2 out of 3, and 1 didn't pre-order anything. Sounds like I'm onto something here. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. What a great sample.
Well, it is. Are we not like? If anything,
No.
I have 2 of the biggest Xbox defenders I know.
Okay, can
on
I?
this, and they didn't even pre-order one.
All right, here's an anecdotal evidence for you. Call of Duty. Okay, people buy Call of Duty like it's Madden. What system do people buy Call of Duty for?
I'd say it's half and half at this point.
Get out of here, half and half.
I'll tell you why. It used
I
to
want
be
to find
Xbox-
sales.
It used to be Xbox for sure until 3 years ago when PlayStation bought exclusivity to the DLC. PlayStation has an exclusive console window for DLC for Call of Duty. And that has changed where people buy Call of Duty. And it has crossplay, so it doesn't matter as much anymore. You can play with anyone on any console on Call of Duty. So where I would have conceded that point 3 years ago, that is no longer a factor in my opinion.
Yeah, it's too bad it's so hard to find sales numbers now because
Because Xbox
You
doesn't
really
want
don't
you to know.
yeah.
I found a
It's all in
thread.
our best interest to not release these numbers. Let's assume we're all doing good. All right.
I found a thread from 5 years ago, so I don't know how relevant it is, but it says that the sales numbers the margin is very slim, but
That was 5 years ago?
Microsoft has a slight edge.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
then PS4 has it now for sure.
Probably. Yeah.
But I would say all of the people who are still playing it on Xbox probably are aware of Series X and are probably interested in Series X.
Okay. Now I'm just going to add one more piece of anecdotal evidence, and I haven't checked with everyone, but if I play Call of Duty, I haven't played it in a while. I do play it on Xbox because that's where my friends play. All right. They play Call of Duty all the time. They're playing tonight. None of them pre-ordered anything to do with the new Xbox. Now, admittedly, they're more casual gamers, and they might go that route eventually, like 2 or 3 years from now. But
And did they order a PS5?
no, but they would never order anything.
Okay.
So if anything,
Well,
they
there we
would have
go.
pre-ordered it, been excited for Series X, and ended up getting nothing. So I think that speaks to what you were talking about last week, Huck, about why even buy anything yet if everything's going to work on old versions of consoles and all this stuff. But I mean, I was joking last week, but the point is we're talking about people who do care about that and would buy a new console now, and I still think it's clear. PlayStation is in much higher demand, and I could be wrong, but I'll talk a bit about should we talk about the desperation that I see now?
Well, are we going to talk about the actual pre-order for Xbox?
Oh, okay. So what about it?
Well, I mean, so you were saying last week that PS5 impossible to get, sold out everywhere, and when Xbox comes out, it's going to be super easy to get one. And
Fair it was. I could have got one that day, no problem.
well, I'm with you that it seemed like in Canada they were easy to come by. In the US, maybe not so much. A lot of stuff I saw online was people trying to get it from Amazon, Target, Walmart, I guess, and like they were all those sites and Microsoft's own site. They were all crashed. Like you could not check out, or you couldn't even get to the site. So, I mean, I don't know if that's. I feel like that's partially because they just told everyone ahead of time. So yes, there's going to be more people hitting the site. If Sony told everyone ahead of time, probably would have been the same thing.
Yep. And people
But
trying to scalp consoles that we talked about last week as well. So I don't know how anyone can win unless you start giving people pre-orders based on their trophies and gamer score, which I would be in favor of. Launching it that way, but then you're cutting out retailers and then they get pissed. So you can't win no matter what you do in terms of pre-orders. So I have no issues with Microsoft or PlayStation with their different approaches to pre-ordering. And if you want Xbox and pre-ordered it, I'm glad. Like I said, if I could have got one from Shoppers Drug Mart, I would have, but I couldn't.
I also just want to point out the tweet from Xbox that said, "We are humbled by the record-breaking demand for Xbox Series X and S. Huge thanks to everyone for the excitement." Now, I was curious what record.
Yeah.
That
was my next question. I hadn't even thought about it.
And I couldn't find it.
I didn't press record. I'm not recording at all.
Well, we're recording the video, so.
Oh, okay. Well, I can rip out the audio.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Just use that.
Frank is so fired up.
Eddie was out of control. My face is becoming very flush. Oh well.
It's a good thing we do the YouTube version.
This is a YouTube exclusive version.
This is a game junk debacle right now.
It certainly is. Oh my goodness. I know why I didn't record either. Anyway, we won't get into that.
You're too busy fucking with your MS Paint.
No, I'll tell you why I didn't record later.
Anyway, yeah, I haven't been able to find out what record actually was broken, so I don't know. That might be a little bit of a spin there, but you know, certainly there was some excitement. Like there was a lot of hype. A lot of people were talking about it. So it's not like it was crickets, you know?
Well, there was a lot of hype. Let's talk about the hype. And I'm sure they sold out their pre-orders. I mean, that's always happened typically with, especially now when there's no stores to go and pre-order. Like people don't want to go to stores. I'm not surprised that online retailers are sold out with either console. There's people who like both brands that are certainly going to sell those systems. But I was like the marketing going on for this stuff, like the journalism marketing. I mean, like it or not, IGN is probably the biggest video game website there is, right? Do we all kind of agree on that? In terms of
sure,
casual gamers, whoever. So I'm just going to share a little image here. So when the pre-order, oh, sorry, let's see some other images here. Oh, we got the Red Ring of Death, Milo Connect.
Just happen to have those on your desktop ready to
go. So this is what, when pre-orders went live, and I've been noticing the coverage when the PlayStation launch came up. I talked about it last week, that it was all framed as a debacle and everything that was wrong with it. I go to IGN, and this is what I saw on the front of their website. Clearly, everything branded and marketed. Like
well, there's a connected banner across all those images.
A timed thing where they knew they were going to have this ready to go when the pre-orders went live. Now, to me, that starts to indicate they're getting a lot of money, advertising money from Xbox that Sony isn't paying them because they don't need it. And then you see, like, you're just flooded. Xbox pre-orders are live. Here's where to get yours. The 5 biggest takeaways from Xbox's Bethesda acquisition. Xbox buying Bethesda is a megaton. Xbox Series X pre-orders could be limited at GameStop stores. Maybe a little GameStop do-re-mi in there. Make sure you get your pre-order in there as well. Xbox Series X and S pre-orders seemingly crash retailer websites. Again, putting the blame on the retailer, which I kind of agree with no matter what. But certainly not a debacle as it was framed with PlayStation. You know, we get some bullshit 90s nostalgia post in here. And then Marvel's Spider-Man PS4 save files won't work with the PS5 remaster. Oh, no. Terror. And then they release some other 5-minute podcast making fun of this. Like, get real. Anyway, and then the next, you go even further down. This is what I see. Xbox Series X pre-orders are going in and out of stock. Better get them while you can. Where to pre-order Xbox One Series X controllers and accessories?
No, you said it wrong. It's not Xbox One Series X.
Oh. Xbox Series
Get
X.
it right.
Controllers.
Microsoft's not going to pay us if you keep getting it wrong.
Where would I pre-order them? Maybe where I pre-order everything fucking else for the console. Good thing this article's there to take the and then why gamers won't get new Sony first-party games on a subscription service, which Game Pass features. Like, it's so obvious.
And did you see the ad there, which is even stranger? It says presented by Super Mario 3D's All-Stars.
Yeah, what? I mean, I ultimately...
So there is sponsorship, but it's Nintendo sponsoring the Microsoft ads.
That's for the IGN Daily Fix. But, I mean, it seems pretty calculated to me and clearly indicates if they were going to lean one way with their coverage, one company is paying them a lot of money and another one isn't. And I traditionally, the more I think about it, don't see a lot of PlayStation ads on IGN. I could be wrong, but to me, a company that needs to advertise versus doesn't indicates desperation to me. Because I don't see a lot of Nintendo advertisements on IGN. Their advertisements are their review scores and other things going on the website. So anyway, that reveals something to me. It might not to everyone. People might not care, but I can't help but notice that. So let's just...
Yeah, I mean, like, I obviously see why you would draw some of these conclusions. I guess the one thing I would say is they knew that was going to be Xbox Series X launch day or pre-order day. So they knew there was going to be interest in that. That was going to be sort of one of the big news stories of the day. So they probably had some of that stuff prepared ahead of time. But, you know...
Why wasn't there a curated banner on PlayStation 5? Oh, you're saying they didn't know the exact day?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If they had announced that ahead of time, we could have compared and seen.
That's
a little hard to say.
They might have used just PR connections to coordinate this stuff. And
yeah,
that's a fair point, for sure. I
think I have the tiebreaker, though. I think I have the tiebreaker. I Googled debacle. And on page 15 of my Google results, the first article related to video games and debacle is from Kotaku 3 days ago. Xbox Series X pre-orders have been a debacle so far. So I believe that is the tiebreaker. It's over for Sony. Debacle is tied to Xbox, and therefore there have been more pre-orders. It's obvious.
But
that indicates that IGN is clear? Well, I'm debating whether or not they're getting paid, and they might just get a lot of advertising for Xbox, and they decide maybe we should do some cool coverage for Xbox pre-order day,
or maybe when they put up Xbox stuff, more people click through, giving them more advertising dollars, which means
definitely possible.
People want
definitely
Xbox.
Possible.
Well, I mean, their comment sections are the worst. I look at them.
They've always been the worst.
I know, but it's crazy. Anyway, I think it's a big deal. All the stuff is good. Sean, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, so I just wanted to. There was another thing that you were mentioning before, I think, of the idea of. I forgot what you. There was something else you were talking about with regards to the Sony pre-orders and whether things were biased towards Microsoft, or I can't remember what it was now. Okay, keep talking.
Okay,
I'll come back to it.
Either way, Bethesda acquisition's a big deal. It's interesting.
Could I have some take on that there?
Go for it, bud.
Okay, so I heard a lot of people or I saw some people on the internet complaining like, oh, this is just like Rare. They'll fuck up it all, all this stuff. And I think the big difference between the ZeniMax thing and the Rare thing is that ZeniMax was already just like an ownership company. Like they were basically just owning all these companies. So all the companies under ZeniMax, they were already used to someone else paying the bill. Like it's the ZeniMax people, the non-creative people that are cashing out right now. With Rare, it was the top dogs at Rare, like the big creative guys that cashed out and said, see ya. I'm taking my Microsoft money. I'm hitting the road. So basically you have Rare, you have all the top creatives checking out, And then all you like in games, it's not like you're manufacturing. It's not like you have a factory that you're pumping out cars with. You know, if the top CEO of GM leaves, you're still going to be pumping out cars. But if the top creative guys in a game studio leave, like that studio's basically changed fundamentally, and they're no longer pumping out, you know, Porsches. They're pumping out, you know, shit cars potentially. So with the ZeniMax thing, I think you still have all the guys at the top of all the studios. You still have the guys at id. You still have the guys at the Bethesda studios running it. Like I can't imagine Todd Howard leaving just because Microsoft, you know, might line his pockets a little more. Like those guys love making games. They've already been acquired by ZeniMax. They've already gone through this. They didn't leave after the ZeniMax thing. They're going to still be there. And I think this is really smart.
They're also getting older. I would say I agree for the most part, but I mean, especially when it comes to IP, it's a different story than just having conglomerate. Like ZeniMax, I don't think each company was in its own respective business of selling and creating IP, but ZeniMax was just, you know, an umbrella company that owned them all, right? Where the difference is now Microsoft has an IP delivery device, an Xbox, and now they have the rights to that IP. And we've seen the opposite situation when Disney acquired Marvel, and now it's 7 Marvel movies a year. And I can't help but think that they're going to be pushing them or giving that IP to other studios, doing stuff with it. Every case I've seen of IP acquisition, it happens. The only exception is Rare. And I'm surprised.
I don't think Rare had most of their IP. I think a lot of it was owned by Nintendo and stuff.
That's a very good point. Rare didn't really have any IP that they owned.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. If the temptation of the dollar sign is there, I think will be, and that might actually drive those creatives out at some point. I mean, this remains to be seen. It all depends on how it's handled by Microsoft, but there'll be a temptation for sequels and all sorts of stuff. And if anything, Phil Spencer, I think, is known as being pretty consumer friendly. It's a long process, not like these instant wins, although this is an exception. But I think he'll treat it long-term strategy. And Microsoft, I think, is more focused on long-term strategy than Sony in terms of gaming. So I don't know. I agree with your point. I don't know if it exactly applies to what we're talking about here, but I hope that's the case. Like, I don't want this thing to fail. I like that there's multiple consoles just because I think one is better. I could switch. I switched last time. I was Xbox One, then switched to PlayStation. So I don't have a side in this. I'm just saying what I think based on everything I've seen so far.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to bring up is there was an article in Game Industry Biz about how Microsoft announced that they're now at 15 million Game Pass subscribers, and in April they were at 10 million. So just that jump from 10 to 15, if they're just getting the base $10 a month for the subscription, they can essentially pay off this entire ZeniMax deal in 4 years if everyone, you know, keeps subscribing and keeps paying those 5 million. So if they take that money and are able to take it, well, I'm just saying going forward.
Yeah, I know, but don't forget all that money from that $10 is also going to develop their own first-party games that are costing.
That's what I was just saying. But they have this like revenue stream now that they don't even need to sell their games, really. They have this revenue stream that they could pump into their studios to make this first-party content, whereas Sony is still in the like hit-driven business of like, you know, you put out Spider-Man, you have a big spike, and then you lull down. You put out Last of Us 2, big spike, lull down. So like theirs is a lot less, you know, standard income flow. Like that's why these free-to-play games are so popular with publishers and why people buy, you know, Zynga and King and all this stuff, because it's like standard, you know, you just keep rolling in cash. And now Xbox or Microsoft has this steady income that in theory should keep going.
I mean,
let them.
I'm assuming there's
maybe
a pretty
take more risks.
Big install base for PlayStation Plus as well. I don't know if it's but that's a steady revenue flow for Sony as well.
True. Yeah.
That is an interesting point, though. I mean, it kind of again, we've talked about, is Game Pass like the Netflix for games? And it kind of gets back to what Netflix and HBO and some of these streaming services do. They don't, it's not about numbers for them. It's not about how many people are watching a certain show. If they have a show that just happens to break through culturally and people are talking about it and critics like it, that's a win for them. That strengthens their brand and brings on subscribers. It's not so much about having the big blockbuster that drives the numbers, right? So yeah, that's an interesting point.
That's an interesting, to bring up Netflix, an interesting point. I mean, just the public conception of Netflix as the go-to streaming device. People have tried to enter HBO Max, all this stuff, and they were there first. So I think Microsoft, like correctly so, sees it as a huge plus to be considered the Netflix of games. And if they can firmly establish that position, that's a huge win. I do not disagree with that at all.
Yeah, I got to backpedal on the point I just made a bit. Okay. I just Googled the PlayStation Plus numbers. It's pretty massive.
Yeah, baby. It's over.
41 million PlayStation Plus subscribers. And PlayStation Now 2.2 million. And that was in May of this year. So that is massive amounts of money.
The popularity and install base of PlayStation destroys Xbox.
That's a huge amount of money.
Who says that? Who thinks that? I don't know. Anyway.
So Frank, I remembered the thing I was going to bring up. So the idea of like the pre-orders being a debacle and people seemingly being more angry at Sony for how their pre-orders went, and like Sony actually did have to issue an apology recently, which was interesting. But so there, I think it just comes down to people felt blindsided. They didn't feel like they even had a chance to prepare or to pre-order for the PS5, and they were already sold out. And yet, I mean, there's more coming, so it's not as big of a deal as maybe it seemed like. But whereas with the Xbox pre-orders, yes, sites were crashing and stuff, but like you said, people were putting it more on the retailers and not as much on Microsoft, although their store was also down, which was not good.
I think the retailers is correct, though, because if I recall, Sony said like they'll be available tomorrow morning, and then I think it was Walmart just put it up like that night, and then everyone was like, fuck, I'm putting mine up. And then I think it was just like a mad dash, and everyone was like, what the hell?
I don't know about how this stuff works behind the scenes, but maybe the contract wording was much more vague with one versus the other or something like that, and that just kind of led to it all falling apart. I don't know. I don't care. I'm going to refer to Huck's numbers last week of like how many manufactured units they're projecting for PlayStation, and it's enormous. And
it was like 11 million or something.
Yeah, it like crushes previous console launches. So I mean, I'm sure that's reflective of the popularity of gaming.
You know what I suspect is the issue is not necessarily manufacturing now. I bet it's shipping. I bet just trying to get them from China over to America and Europe is probably their biggest thing with all the COVID like quarantine shit that's going on. I bet that's a huge concern.
Wait till November 12th. Wait till the shipping debacles. They're going to be everywhere. I don't even think they care about shipping right now. I think they're just assuming it's going to go well. And when that happens, blame the shipping.
They did. Apparently, if you ordered a PS5 from Sony directly, they did send out some emails saying that there's going to be 2 waves of shipments. And so like half the people are already being told you're not getting it on launch day.
We need trophy score priority for pre-order. It's the only way to go. I've always said it with concerts, the pre-sales, you should have to take a quiz about how much you like the band and how much like to get front row. It should be like the biggest fans who can name every song, name that tune with every song of the band. They should get the first crack at tickets. How has that not been done? Wouldn't that be the
I mean, there's like fan clubs and stuff where you
but this is a great idea. I wouldn't get behind that. Yeah, they love that band. They know literally everything about it. They can have front row.
I mean, it's classic Frank. You got to turn it into a competition, right?
Well, it's not about that. If it was actually fair and people who liked things got what like we talked about with scalping consoles and stuff like that, if people just didn't buy stuff they didn't want to sell it for more money, like concert tickets, it wouldn't even matter. The problem is that does happen a lot, which sucks for everyone. And we can all agree that's the worst thing about all this stuff, right? Like, who knows how many of these pre-orders are just going to end up on eBay or Kijiji in Canada, and it's like, oh, barf. Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. All right. So any other thoughts on this non-debacle and wonderful news for Microsoft?
No, I think we covered most of it.
Okay. Kudos, Microsoft. Kudos. You got me.
I mean, you're changing your tune a little bit here, Frank. Like on
It's a big deal.
on the launch day, you were really arguing that it wasn't a big deal.
I was? I thought I was more arguing about the nonsensical.
I mean, that might have been Eddie. I
media
don't know.
coverage.
It could have been Eddie talking on the chat, but
Because I had heard initially that they weren't exclusive. If they're not exclusive, I don't change my opinion about anything.
well, and just you also said that Bethesda is going down the tubes, and
Well, a little bit. I do think. I mean, I'm obviously not a Bethesda fan anyway, but I certainly know that they are a very popular company. So I'm not trying to pretend like that's not the case.
okay.
But I mean,
Let's
if
say-
they're not, especially if they're not exclusive, forget it. I do not change my opinion at all. I might change my ratio of 4-1 to 3-1 at that point.
I must say though, if they do go exclusive, Microsoft now has quite a monopoly on the games that like Bethesda, Obsidian, and In Exile make, like those like Western role playing games.
Yeah.
They make all of them, and they now own all those studios. So, I mean, if they decide to not put Skyrim on PS4, that could be a big deal, or whatever, Skyrim 2 or whatever they're going to call the next Elder Scrolls game.
I think they
We'll
said,
lose it.
didn't it?
Does it have a name?
Maybe not. Maybe it was just Elder Scrolls 6.
Elder Scrolls 6, maybe.
All right, let's keep going here. We're going pretty long here. Do you want to get into what we played?
Sure.
You guys can go first.
Well, you got me. You kind of piqued my interest last week, Frank. You were talking about Hades, which I hadn't even heard of, and this is the new game from is it Supergiant? Is that what they're called?
Yeah. And there was a sale on it. I think it's still going on the Switch store.
Yeah, I think 20% off to get in early. So I just kept hearing about it all week, and I was like, yeah, like I liked Bastion. I didn't play Transistor. Was there another game they did?
Pyre.
Oh, didn't play that either. But I don't know. I was intrigued enough that I decided to pick it up, and I gotta say, I'm loving it so far. I mean, roguelite games, I'm always like, I don't know. I can't. I enjoy them for a little bit, and then as soon as I start feeling the grind or whatever, I kind of lose interest. Because to me, the idea of a game that's, I mean, I know a lot of them have an end state that you're working towards, but just the idea of sort of a game that's you can just churn infinitely with, and one where you're kind of starting over a lot, that generally turns me off. But I've enjoyed Dead Cells. What else? I mean, Round Guard I've been playing this year.
Did you like Rogue Legacy?
I like Rogue Legacy, yeah. I mean, all of those games I didn't like get too into, but I enjoyed them enough that I'm like, okay, I could see the appeal of this. But I mean, this one probably has its hooks in me more than any other I've played so far. And I think part of it is it does feel a bit Diablo-esque, and it has, so it's kind of like Diablo meets God of War. It's kind of,
Well, can I add one thing? I was wondering if it was, a lot of the reviews I saw mentioned the story elements in terms of like maybe Persona influence stuff within the hub world or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too familiar with Persona, but certainly kind of these, I don't know, visual novel type things. It seems to be drawing from that a bit. And yeah, that helps a lot. So like the combination of it feeling like Diablo and having like a lot of loot and power-ups, and just like basically every room you're in, once you clear it, you get something. So to me, that creates right off the bat a pretty compelling game loop. And then, yeah, once you die and you come back to Hades, you are, going around and talking to people, and there's sort of little storylines that start to progress throughout that. And that just, I don't know, it almost makes it like you're almost looking forward to dying so that you can get back and find out what's going on and take advantage of some of the things you've gained along the way. And I love the visuals. I love the look of it, like the colors, and it's kind of like a cell shaded type thing, but I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I just really like the colors they use, and the voice acting is, you know what? It reminded me a little bit of Castlevania. It's got a little bit of like a cheese factor
in night. Enough talk, have at you.
I mean, it's not that bad, but it's a little bit of that with the voice acting and stuff. But I kind of dug it. So yeah, I mean, I'm really liking it, and I mean, we'll see how long it lasts, but I'm into it. And I think it's only on this. It's only on the Switch and Steam right now, right?
Yeah.
Or Epic Store.
Epic Store, right? Sorry.
After you guys talk of Carrion, I played a bit of that. I probably played 45 minutes or an hour. Yeah, I was enjoying it. I didn't get to any, major puzzles or anything. I don't know how it's going to progress. It seems basically like you're just kind of traveling through an area and moving aside grates to get to the next area and, pulling levers and stuff. Nothing too complicated, but pretty fun. I like the movement. The movement is really slick, how it's got all the arms coming out, and I just getting like my first new sort of like grip mechanic thing. And I also dove back into Spiritfarer, which I can't really explain why, because it's pretty much the same that I've been doing with Spiritfarer. You're kind of just, it's almost just relaxing to play that game.
Yep.
And there's really no, I guess,
I think it's, I mean, I haven't played Stardew Valley, but I can relate it to Viva Pinata. Just this kind of gameplay loop where it is addictive and relaxing. And I just think I personally, the art style kept pulling me back. Like I just like the look of the world.
Yeah, I would say it is kind of like Stardew Valley, where you don't really feel the pressure. I mean, in Stardew Valley, you maybe even have more pressure because like you need to harvest your crops before like the next season starts and stuff like that. So there is a little more time pressure in like Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley. But in this game, yeah, it's just really relaxing almost, and you just kind of, there's no pressure to necessarily go anywhere or do anything except for the quest log. And so that's all I've been doing. I've just been kind of going through my quest log, collecting things, upgrading things, and I don't know, it's kind of a weird experience. I can't really say I'm enjoying it, but I'm not liking it. So I don't know, I'll probably keep playing it.
That counts as enjoying it. 100.
Yeah.
Put that on the box art.
Yeah, that's it for me.
So I held true to my promise. I've only played Nintendo Switch for the last week. I've played a lot of Breath of the Wild. I am further than I've ever been. I've got 2 Divine Beasts done, a lot of shrines, quite a few Korok seeds. I checked a guide once just because with relation to the Hestu or Hetsu, I can't remember, the big Korok for upgrading your inventories. He said he was going to Korok Forest. I went to every tower in the game and unlocked every tower to find Korok Forest. It's the only one that's not labeled until you find it. And I'm like, I want to upgrade my stuff. How do I do this? And I was looking everywhere. And anyway, that was one annoyance so far in terms of what to do. But other than that, I've really been liking it, aside from a few frustrating things, specifically a couple stealth missions I thought were really bad. The Yiga clan hideout and one of the trials in the Lost Woods also was like, I mean, what's great about that game is you have so many options on how to tackle things, and both of those missions are like, do it this way exactly, and it's really frustrating. But those are my only 2 like, I want to break this game in half moments so far.
Really? Not the inventory?
No, I like that. I think it
like how quick stuff breaks?
Yeah, it like promotes experimentation, trying out, like as soon as you embrace that and be like, okay, just grab a new weapon, play around with it, try something different with it. I like that. I've learned to embrace the weapon management. Although
Do you also not find that you're like saving your best weapons and never using them?
no, no,
Oh, really?
I find like the weapons you get in areas are scaled to the enemies you generally fight in those areas, and I haven't had too many issues with that so far. But I am really liking it. There's no way this is a 10 out of 10 game. I don't understand how every review of all ever has given it a 10 out of 10. I disagree.
They gave Skyward Sword 10 out of 10.
I know, it's crazy. But it's a very good game. I'm liking it quite a bit. And I'm going to see it through for sure. So I don't know if thankfully, there's no achievements for getting every shrine in Korok Seed, because that might drive me crazy, and I would probably feel the need to do it. But again, this game, and I would put this in the same zone as Metal Gear Solid, Red Dead Redemption. I'm like 20 hours in, and I'm still fucking up controls. Like, there's this learning curve of relearning how to play a video game with this game, where buttons are flipped, hitting the right, left, and right for swords and shields. Like, there's so much going on.
How many times have you just chucked your sword away by accident?
None.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I often go to switch it and do the wrong thing, and it is a little cumbersome. Like that, you have to be holding the right trigger to switch bow and arrows, and not being able to go directly to your shield with two-handed weapons sometimes. Like, there are frustrations, don't get me wrong. And during boss fights, they rear their ugly head quite a bit. So,
oh yeah.
But the overall personality and charm presentation, top notch. Doesn't get much better than that game.
I remember I was on top of that big hill where the flying people live, whatever they're called, and I accidentally just whipped my best sword down the hill. I was so pissed. It's like, and I'm shutting this game off.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, the rain stuff does get annoying too. It's it's less of
not the rain, the lightning, right? The lightning.
Well, more, yeah, that and the rain. Like where I would be almost at the top of a mountain early on in the game, and it would start raining, and I'm just sitting there waiting.
Oh.
And then, of course, you see the articles online. Why I learned to love when it rains in Breath of the Wild. And like, people talk about me force feeding stuff. Every article dedicated to Breath of the Wild is about force feeding it. So give me a fucking break. Anyway, it's a great game. I'm also playing, not as much, but Mario 3D All-Stars, and slowly making my way. I think I'm at about like 35 stars right now out of 120. And, you know, I play that for a bit until I want to break it in half, and then which isn't that often, but there are some stars that are like, what the fuck? Like, only because I played the first one so much do I know. I'm like, I think, would I ever know how to get this star if I hadn't played this game when I was 16 years old? But I mean, for a game that's,
this is Mario 64 you're talking about, right?
Yeah, if I was, for 23 years old, it still holds up pretty well compared to other 23-year-old games. So I have to put that into perspective. And the HD does look great. I love the look of it. So liking that. Maybe I bought Animal Crossing. Still haven't fired it up yet. But that'll be coming soon.
Nice.
And I might get into an Xbox phase too. I might, since Nintendo and Xbox are so chummy, might fire up a Gears game or something like that to get a little adrenaline and mixed in with this relaxing gameplay from Zelda.
If you want some adrenaline, man, Doom Eternal coming to Game Pass next month. So
I gotta beat the first one first and get a platinum trophy before I play Doom Eternal. I haven't pulled that out here yet. Like, if I'm gonna play something, I'm gonna play it with trophies, whether I have to buy it or not. So I think I need to keep going on the Switch and like exercise the platinum demons from my body. We're not there yet. We are not there yet. Still working on it. Okay. Anything else you guys want to mention?
No, I think that's it for this week.
We'll wrap it up. Check out this insane YouTube video. Click the smash like, smash this. I don't know what the fucking people say about YouTube. Smash it all. Like it, share it, whatever.
Click it.
YouTube.com/game junk.
You
With
know
my
it.
new MS Paint lighting system. Soft pink, lavender. It's huge. This is a game. Oh, look at that yellow. What a MS Paint, underrated. All right, we'll talk to you next week. So far, nothing to talk about, but
We'll talk about the Amazon announcement next week, right?
Okay, if that's moving anyone's needle. How's Lumberyard doing these days? Let's get real. Come on.
It's huge.
It's huge.
We'll talk all about it next week. But with games these days, it is megaton after megaton, debacle after debacle, and you've got to stay tuned. You've got to hear what we're talking about. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. The dead eye, the glassy eye. I love it. I'm gonna get a permanent glassy eye.
All right, now I'm gonna